Whether for dinner, the opera, or the country club, Behringer's Women's Department has the perfect pair of shoes for the occasion. Find that special pair on your next visit to Behringer's. For the modern woman on the go, it has to be Big Break Whites. Made with the same premium blend of tobaccos used in reds and blues, but with a refreshing menthol taste. This is the smoothest smoke we've ever produced. Taste the freshness of Big Break Whites.
Next time you're ordering a vodka martini, ensure your bartender is using Gorska Dolina. If not, maybe it's time for a change of venue. Imported from Krakow, Gorska Dolina has a powerful yet smooth flavor that is Europe's favorite. Gorska Dolina Premium Polish Vodka. From Oak Hill to Holbrook and from Chinatown to Little Italy, the city's #1 combination is Lost Heaven Radio and Big Break.
The modern woman knows the importance of staying trim, fit, and vigorous. At Behringer's Sporting Goods, we carry everything you need to pursue a healthy body and mind. Remember, a regular exercise program will have you looking great and feeling fantastic. Visit Behringer's Sporting Goods today. Brought to you from Behringer's Department Store in bustling downtown Lost Heaven, this is WBDS. Up next, some more of the day's favorite music. When out-of-towners think of our city, they think of the Lancers, the Courier, and they think of Behringer's. Not bad company, eh? Behringer's Department Store, a Lost Heaven institution for more than 65 years.
What does the president have to say? What of the situation in Asia? Who blew it for the Lancers? All these questions and more can be answered daily with a subscription to the Lost Heaven Courier. Get news, opinion, business, and more delivered to your door each and every day. The Lost Heaven Courier. This is the WLH Nighttime section, broadcasting on 570 AM. Stay tuned for more as we head on into the wee hours. Coming up next, more carefully selected music.
Now for a news bulletin. Police say they still have no solid leads in the case of the audacious bank robbery that recently shocked the city. The victors of the Battle of the Grand Imperial, as it's become known, remain at large. The robbery, in which armed thugs emptied the vault and left a trail of dead, was one of the largest recorded in the state by dollar amount. The raid was executed with a high degree of violence, and although successful, did not seem to be the work of professional bank robbers. That is according to a source within the FBI who has spoken to a Courier journalist on the condition of anonymity. At the time of the robbery, the chief of police was adamant that those responsible would be brought to justice swiftly, and that all the resources of the Lost Heaven Police Department were available to the case's lead investigator. However, despite conducting numerous interviews and fielding calls from the public, an actionable lead has yet to be forthcoming. The chief of police has stated that those with any information about the robbery or the perpetrators can anonymously contact their local police station. As time passes, the greater the pressure on the chief to achieve results. If he's unable to secure justice for those slain that day, and due to the violence meted out, it must only be a matter of time before the G-men take over. Thank you for listening. Now we take you back to some of the latest musical numbers.
The Lost Heaven Art Gallery is proud to announce the upcoming exhibit, The Rise and Fall of Empires. See priceless artifacts that chart the fortunes of empires from around the world. Discover how these great powers grew from humble beginnings, reached dizzying heights, and came crashing down. Hear some of history's most amazing stories at the exhibit that is sure to have people talking. Don't delay. Reserve your ticket today.
Now, for a special news report on today's events in Washington. This morning, President Roosevelt put pen to paper on an amendment to the Volstead Act that is being called a step toward the full repeal of prohibition. The Cullen-Harrison Act, as it has become known, legalizes in the United States the sale of beer with an alcohol content of 3.2%. It also legalizes the sale of wine of a similar alcohol content, although I can't imagine that being too appealing to many. The legislation will, no doubt, be greeted with elation by people all across the country. Economics have played just as big a part as public sentiment in the introduction of this new legislation. The negative effects of the Depression, especially in rural and agricultural areas, have been great, and the shortfall in local, state, and federal taxes has been considerable. It's been estimated that prior to the implementation of the Volstead Act in 1920, some 15% of all taxes were generated as a direct result of the alcohol trade. The millions of dollars that such a percentage equals is sorely needed in times such as these. Many missing millions of dollars have, in the 13 years of Prohibition, gone into the pockets of the gangster and the organized criminal. The illicit trade in alcohol has made the mobsters very wealthy indeed. Some of them like to paint themselves as Robin Hood types, simply giving the public what they want. But that doesn't take into account the social cost of their continued operation. When the speakeasy replaced the saloon, a vicious crime wave was unleashed across the country. Will this new legislation remove the mob's money-making opportunities? Or will the crime bosses simply move into new areas of illegal activity? At this point, it is difficult to say for sure. Some lawmakers in Washington, speaking off the record, now believe it is only a matter of time before the repeal of Prohibition in its entirety. We will, of course, let you know any further developments. So there we have it, folks. After 13 years, it is legal to buy, sell, and consume Low Point beer once again. The president, after signing the act into law, even said, "I think this would be a good time for a beer." I imagine more than a few people tonight will be raising a glass to President Roosevelt this evening. This concludes our news report. Join us for more throughout the day. Thank you for listening.
Welcome to 570 AM Lost Heaven Radio, winner of the 1935 Escombe Prize for Broadcast Journalism. Music and news are on the way. Please stay with us.
At Behringer's, we're proud to say we keep up with the times. That means we have the most extensive range of radio receivers available anywhere in the city. Our radio department is a paradise for music lovers, with the best sets and components from both home and abroad. With equipment to fit all taste and budgets, Behringer's radio department is the last place you ever need look.
Scheduled music programs and regular news bulletins brought to you by Lost Heaven Radio. Swift Cola presents Lost Heaven Radio's musical selection. Enjoy a taste sensation and gain boundless energy anytime you need it. Catch my drift? Then grab a Swift.
We interrupt our scheduled programming to bring you a breaking news report live from Lost Heaven Radio. Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with both shock and sadness that I must report that Hank Turnbull, candidate for governor, has been shot dead. This has been confirmed by both the police department and the coroner's office. Police have stated they are looking to question a well-dressed, brown-haired man seen in the vicinity of the old prison, which is where eyewitnesses believe the shot to have come from. Officers have been mobilized to the area, and unconfirmed reports suggest a vehicle chase is currently underway. As I say, that has not yet been confirmed by the law enforcement officials. According to eyewitnesses, Turnbull was addressing the crowd at a rally held for his gubernatorial campaign. The rally, held at the old bandstand in Robinson Park, was attended by the public, members of the press, and a large contingent of police personnel. The eyewitness stated that a shot was fired from the former prison, and Mr. Turnbull fell to the ground instantly. Officers from the Lost Heaven Police Department already on the scene attended to Mr. Turnbull. He was then rushed to the hospital, where sadly he was pronounced dead on arrival, the assassin's bullet proving fatal. Early reports suggest a high-powered hunting rifle was used in this most brutal of public assassinations. Whether that means the police have found a murder weapon or that they're basing that on Mr. Turnbull's injuries is currently unclear. Police have moved into the area and are conducting a thorough search of the bandstand, the derelict prison that stands opposite, and the surrounding area. They've also asked that the public keep clear of the locality so they may do their work without interruption. The Chief of Police has urged anyone who is present at the rally, anyone who may have seen something suspicious, or anyone who knows someone fitting the description issued to contact police as soon as possible. Mr. Turnbull launched his election bid several months ago after returning to politics following several years in the private sector. Previously, he'd served as congressman of the 27th District for more than 2 decades. Turnbull had stated that his run for governor was precipitated by rising crime and levels of corruption. His election bid was gathering steam, and pundits believed that he was in with a chance of going all the way. He is survived by a wife and 2 daughters, and it is with them that our thoughts and prayers reside today. We will bring you more on this story as we receive it.
Edmunds Tools has all the stock and know-how required to tackle any job that could come up, both at home or in the yard. Whether replacing a bathroom set or building a carport, our staff knows exactly what's needed. And our price guarantee means you won't find what you need for cheaper anywhere locally. Edmunds Tools, for jobs big and small.
Whether you're returning home from work or heading back after a game of bridge, your companion through the evening is Lost Heaven Radio.
And here we go, folks. Smith is at the mound. He winds up. Oh, swing and a miss. That fastball. Bunny shot Deathridge, the Cannon's youngster there. That's not going to be something he'll forget in a hurry.
Funded by the public for the public, this is Lost Heaven Radio. Here morning, noon, and night. Now, we return to more music.
For the best music and the latest deals, stay with Behringer's Radio.
With 3 flights daily, Air Bordeaux is your link to the Bourbon City. Travel in style to the jewel of the South and enjoy premium service throughout your journey. Thanks to your stewardesses, you'll arrive more refreshed than when you left. Air Bordeaux. Contact your travel agent for details.
For the latest technological innovations and labor-saving devices, Behringer's is the place to visit. Cutting-edge radio sets, vacuum cleaners, dryers, and more are waiting for you to try them. Make your life easier with a visit to Behringer's Department Store. I bid you all a pleasant afternoon from the studios of WBDS, broadcasting from Behringer's Department Store. Musical numbers are on their way to give you a boost or to brighten your day.
And now for the latest news. The Navy is today continuing its search for the remains of those brave souls lost aboard the airship USS Akron. The Akron was destroyed in a violent thunderstorm off the New Jersey coast Tuesday morning, with the loss of 73 of 76 aboard. The disaster stands as the worst aviation accident on record. Yesterday, one of the survivors, Lieutenant Commander Herbert V. Wiley, spoke to members of the press and gave a brief account of the tragedy. He also spoke of the survivors' rescue by the German tanker Phoebus. President Roosevelt has described the loss of the Akron as a national disaster and said that he grieves with the wives and families of those lost and the nation. We will bring you more on the disaster and the Navy's search as we receive it. Thank you for listening. We return now to our scheduled programming.
Empire Bay is no longer out of reach thanks to Blue Heron Airlines. Visit Lincoln Park, see the Grand Upper Bridge, and marvel at the Ulva Building. Blue Heron operates 4 flights each day, flying out of Lost Heaven International. Contact your travel agent for scheduling and reservations.
This This is a special sports report, and I'm very pleased to say that our very own Lancers have triumphed over the Empire Bay Cannons. After a back and forth from leading to trailing, they've only gone and done it. Our man, Bunny Smith, held his nerve to secure the final game of the Gold Series. Up against the wild swinging of Foghorn Seidel, he produced some of the best, most consistent pitching of his career. The duel between these two giants, statistically the best pitcher and hitter in today's game, was the centerpiece of this rivals matchup, and it was the boy from Oakwood who emerged triumphant. After being on the receiving end of some drubbings in recent years, it's a time for celebration. The Lancers have turned around their fortunes, in large part thanks to Smith. But it's a team game, and the entire team deserve our plaudits. Although some players deserve special praise as well. The youngsters, Elms and Graveson, played their hearts out. Nicholson, Howells too, was magnificent. He gave a fielding master class, and I'm sure I'm missing some, so I do apologize. And while we might feel like celebrating, spare a thought for the fellows who actually won the thing. The Lancers, of course, are still in Empire Bay. Let's hope that they can jump on a plane as soon as possible and return to Lost Heaven, where I have no doubt they'll be received like conquering heroes. And let's hope they show off the James L. Wistman Trophy when they get back. I dare say we've waited long enough to see it. Thank you for listening, and now we join our scheduled programming once again.
570 AM Lost Heaven Radio now brings you a special weather report. The heavens have opened, folks, and we're experiencing some adverse effects across the municipal area. A large storm front, not expected to arrive for several days, hit Lost Heaven late this afternoon, releasing a deluge of rainfall on the city. If you've been out in the last couple of hours, you don't need me to tell you. There are reports coming in of a number of traffic accidents attributed to the downpour, with fender benders occurring in Oakwood and Chinatown. A more serious accident has occurred near the White Harbor Hotel, which is causing traffic to back up on the East Marshall Bridge all the way into downtown. The police department is attending incidents as they can, but they've now issued advice that people should not venture out on the roads unless their journey is strictly necessary. The roads are treacherous, ladies and gentlemen, so however a good driver you may be, it's just not worth the risk to you or anyone else. It would seem the best thing to do on a night like this is to stay at home with your loved ones and keep warm and dry. I know where I'd rather be on a night like this. In addition to the problems we've been hearing of on the roads, air traffic in and out of the city has been suspended by order of the aviation authorities. All scheduled flights departing Lost Heaven International have been grounded, and those scheduled to arrive into that airport have been canceled or diverted elsewhere. Now, as bad as that may sound, the latest report from the Weather Service that I've just been handed states that although the rain is heavy at this moment, and that all warnings should be heeded, the storm isn't expected to last all that long. Certainly, it doesn't seem like it will be anything like the big one of 1927. High winds are pushing the storm over us at quite a rate. We will, of course, keep you informed with news on the hour. But before I return you to our musical programming, let me reiterate that the Lost Heaven Police Department strongly advises against motor travel at this time. And on a personal note, I advise staying with your family, friends, or loved ones and waiting out this dreadful storm in the warmth of the home. That's all for now. Some music will be along shortly, and I'll be back to check in with you later. Thank you for listening.
WBDS is with you all evening long. Bedroom set looking a little old? Has your living room furniture seen better days? Behringer's has all the modern styles at the best possible prices. Come and see for yourself. Behringer's Department Store.
It's getting late, folks, and the day's work is done, but we're still here. Lost Heaven Radio, 570 AM.
We return now to the coverage of Game 7 of the Gold Series. And by the looks of it, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be underway any minute now. The crowd here in the armory are restless. You can almost taste the tension as we approach this, the deciding game between these two famous rivals. More than a little bad blood between them, and more than a couple of nasty flare-ups in recent years. Of course, this occasion, more than any other, could prove feisty, what with the drama that closed out the previous game. That, of course, saw the Lancers win to tie the series, and it's not often Empire Bay and Lost Heaven can boast the game's best current hitter and pitcher, respectively. I refer, of course, to Foghorn Seidel, the man mountain with the shock of red hair, and Lancers star Bunny Smith. Speaking of Smith, he is jogging, I suppose you'd say, between his teammates, issuing last-minute orders. They seem responsive to whatever he's saying. He commands respect from his team, that is for sure. By goodness, there must be some nerves among some of the younger Lancers, Elms, Graveson, and Nicholson. Smith seemed to have pepped them up. That's good to see. That's what a good captain does. The Cannons lineup is meandering over to the home team dugout. The Lancers are slowly taking up their position, so we can't be too far away from the opening pitch, here at the Armory, the home of the Empire Bay Cannons. Stay with us for more.
Whether you're just turning in or starting the new day early, Lost Heaven Radio is your friend on the airwaves. Please stay with us on 570 AM. This is Lost Heaven Radio, broadcasting on 570 AM. Born in foggy London town, Laidler's is now the preferred gin on this side of the pond. It's been triple distilled, and boy, can you tell. For your favorite cocktail, accept nothing less than Laidler's. This is 570 AM, Lost Heaven Radio. Thank you for listening.
Now we bring you an excerpt from a fireside presidential address delivered earlier this year on the topic of the National Recovery Administration. This is part of our series looking back over the president's plans and results since his inauguration.
While we are making this great common effort, there should be no discord and no dispute. This is no time to cavil or to question the standard set by this universal agreement. It is time for patience and understanding and cooperation. The workers of this country have rights under this law which cannot be taken from them, and nobody will be permitted to whittle them away. But on the other hand, no aggression is now necessary to attain those rights. The whole country will be united to get them for you. The principle that applies to the employers applies to the workers as well. And I ask you workers to cooperate in the same spirit. When Andrew Jackson, Old Hickory, died, someone asked, "Will he go to heaven?" The answer was, "He will if he wants to." If I am asked whether the American people will pull themselves out of this depression, I answer, they will if they want to. The essence of the plan is a universal limitation of hours of work per week for any individual by common consent, and a universal payment of wages above a minimum, also by common consent. My friends, I cannot guarantee the success of this nationwide plan, but the people of this country can guarantee its success. I have no faith in cure-alls, but I believe that we can greatly influence economic forces. I have no sympathy with the professional economists who insist that things must run their course and that human agencies can have no influence on economic ills. One reason is that I happen to know that professional economists have changed their definition of economic laws every 5 or 10 years for a very long time. But I do have faith and retain faith in the strength of common purpose and in the strength of unified action taken by the American people.
The president there speaking earlier this year on the National Recovery Administration.
Behringer's department store has been serving the people of Lost Heaven for more than 65 years. We care for this city and for each and every customer that comes through our door. We want the best for them and their families, and that's why this message is a little different. In recent years, our city has fallen prey to criminal elements, and only one man has shown that he has the strength and the moral fortitude required to once again allow the people to walk the streets without fear, with hope in their hearts. That man is Hank Turnbull. Mr. Turnbull stepped away from political life after 20 years as congressman of the 27th District. The appalling situation our state finds itself in has compelled him to step into the breach once more. And we could have no finer champion in the governor's mansion than Hank Turnbull. He'll bring all his experience to bear on the criminals that have made our streets their playground. Proven in the battlefield that is the 27th Congressional District, Mr. Turnbull will be tough on crime and tough on the systemic corruption that plagues our state. We are lucky in the extreme to have such a warrior against grift stepping back on the field in our time of need. He receives the full backing and endorsement of the Behringer family and Behringer's department store. Behringer's department store and Hank Turnbull, leading the way for a brighter future. Vote Turnbull for governor.
Well, I hope this afternoon finds you well. You're listening to WBDS. The best meals come from the best ingredients, and there's nowhere with a better selection of groceries than Behringer's Market Square. Visit us next time you're downtown. A birthday, a straight-A report card, or regularly helping around the house are all reasons to treat your children. High-quality toys for both girls and boys at prices that can't be bettered. Behringer's Toy Department. And now, back to the musical program.
A news report now covering today's events from the White House. President Hoover this morning addressed members of the press and spoke at length on the current financial situation and the likelihood of the swift recovery to which he's previously alluded. Asked if his response to the severe economic depression America finds itself in was sufficient, the president responded by pointing to various initiatives, such as the additional $100 million received from Congress to continue the federal farm board's purchasing and lending policies. The topic then moved to the problem of unemployment, which as of today stands at 11%, as high a value as was recorded during the Depression of 1921. Pressed on whether the unemployment could continue to worsen, the White House Press Secretary George Akerson spoke of public works programs that had increased spending in the hopes of providing fiscal stimulus. Whether or not these efforts will arrest rising unemployment, only time will tell. Mr. Akerson also faced questions as to the publication of the Wickersham Commission's report. The report is a survey of the criminal justice system under Prohibition and is expected to contain policy recommendations based upon the Commission's findings. The assembled members of the press were assured the report would be published in a timely fashion, although no more details were forthcoming. That concludes our roundup of today's political events. Join me later for another bulletin, plus sports news.
See the fastest racers on Earth. Feel the rumble as they head up the home straight. Experience speed like never before. The Autodrome, home of the Lost Heaven Grand Prix, welcomes you to enjoy full programs of races each weekend. Check the courier for listings. Lost Heaven Autodrome, the home of speed.
Good afternoon. You're listening to WBDS, broadcasting live from Behringer's Department Store, Lost Heaven's favorite shopping destination for over 65 years. Now, if that's not an institution, I don't know what is. You're listening to WBDS, Behringer's Radio. Does he pay more attention to women on the street than to you? When was the last time he paid you a compliment? Make sure that he only has eyes for one woman with a visit to Behringer's Cosmetics Department.
570 AM Lost Heaven Radio is our city's public service radio station. Thank you for your continued support. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. More music is on its way. Keep your dial set to Lost Heaven Radio. Call sign WLH. Big Break Reds are the smoke that just keep on tasting better and better. Long after it's been extinguished, the taste of a red stays with you. A strong man needs, nay, demands, a strong cigarette. A strong man smokes Big Break Red. Whether Singapore Sling, Gimlet, or French 75, the essential ingredient is Laidler's London Gin. Triple distilled for strength and flavor, Laidler's always hits the spot. Make sure your bartender is doing right by you. Insist on Laidler's. With music programming and up-to-the-minute news, this is WLH, Lost Heaven Radio. There's a reason the racers of the Lost Heaven Grand Prix use only Trago motor oil, and that's because only Trago makes engines perform at their maximum while guarding against wear and tear. For optimal performance, Trago lets you go, go, go. This afternoon's programming on 570 AM Lost Heaven Radio comes courtesy of the new and improved Swift Cola. Think you can't better perfection? Think again. Try a new Swift today. Big Break Blues deliver the bold, satisfying flavor that never lets you down. Made with only the finest tobacco, bear the choice of professionals, athletes, stars of stage and screen. So, you're in good company. Big Break cigarettes. Take a break from it all.
Now, a brief report on our city's just-released crime statistics. It would be fair to say that the latest figures released by the police department paint a sorry picture of both Lost Heaven and the greater municipal area. Murder, bank robbery, and loan sharking have all reached record levels. So-called petty crimes such as theft, fraud, and panhandling have also become endemic. While much of this criminality can be attributed to economic factors, poverty and unemployment, an equal amount can be traced to the conditions created by the passage of the 18th Amendment and Prohibition. The rise of gangsterism has seen violent turf wars break out across the city, often with the innocent being caught in the crossfire. At what point do we say no more? For all the good intentions, Prohibition has granted a ruthless minority a disproportionate hold on public life. Were his monopoly stripped from him, would the gangster figure simply melt away? Perhaps not. But one thing is certain. We can't go on as we are. Something must be done to arrest the descent of public life into violent chaos. We'll return with the rest of today's stories after a short musical interlude.
With 7 floors of quality and value, there's only one place you need ever go. That's right, it's Behringer's Department Store, serving Lost Heaven for over 65 years. Behringer's, it's the name you can bank on.
Proven to cause no irritation or tobacco hangover, Big Break Blues are the choice of more doctors and professionals than any other cigarette on the market. That tells you a thing or two, doesn't it? Make sure you're in good company by choosing Big Break. Now, we return you to our scheduled musical programming.
The Lost Heaven Art Gallery welcomes you to their upcoming exhibit. Bear witness to the rise and fall of empires. Since time began, the fortunes of civilization have been entwined with the prosperity or decline of great empires. Reserve your ticket and see the exhibit that is sure to have everyone talking. Marvel at artifacts from civilization's greatest heights and learn how such formidable powers were brought low and usurped.
You've got the invitation, you've got the outfit. Now, what's missing? Of course, the piece de resistance, the handbag. Behringer's women's department has a vast range of styles to suit your particular taste, including pieces imported from Italy, France, and Great Britain. And now, back to WBDS, broadcasting live from Behringer's department store.
Feeling blue? Then reach for a blue. A big break blue, that is. A cigarette guaranteed to satisfy, relax, and fortify. Big break blue. Let your troubles go up in smoke.
Welcome to WBDS. Are you doing your favorite songs justice with your receiver? Is the music round, full, and perfectly controlled? If not, it may be just the time to visit Behringer's, where you can pick up the best radios of this new age for a price that won't break the bank.
Big test coming up? Finally got a date with that someone special? A job interview? Each time you need a boost of focus, drive, and determination, look no further than Swift Cola. Proven to increase attention and mental clarity. When you need a lift, reach for a Swift.
Now, a breaking news report on happenings in Europe. Germany has carried out the annexation of Austria. With this momentous day, Nazi visions of expansion become reality. The annexation, or Anschluss, was achieved by way of bloodless invasion. What, for all his power, Bismarck couldn't achieve, Hitler has completed within 5 years of assuming total control of Germany. While Austrian Chancellor Kurt Schuschnigg remained opposed to such a union, the bold action of their northern neighbor appears to have been largely welcomed by the Austrian population. The Führer crossed the border at his birthplace, Braunau am Inn, flanked by thousands of jackbooted bodyguards. Large crowds lined the streets to welcome the leader, many of them saluting or throwing flowers toward Mr. Hitler's open-topped limousine. We will bring you more on this breaking story as we have it. Now we return to our scheduled programming.
Welcome to a WLH Sports Report. There's a sense of anticipation as we await the start of the big game. Our very own Lost Heaven Lancers are out on the road, deep in enemy territory as they take on bitter rivals, the Empire Bay Cannons. This year's Gold Series is shaping up to be one of the best on record, with both teams matching one another blow for blow. Despite the Cannons' home field advantage and an early lead in the series, the Lancers have bounced back and have really taken their rivals to task. Many of the plaudits and column inches have been dedicated to one man. Lancers pitcher Bunny Smith is one of this year's standout performers. And with this series tied at 3-3, he may well be the key man that brings the Wistman Trophy back to Lost Heaven. But doing so will be no easy task, as standing in his way is opposition captain Foghorn, Jack Seidel. His solo home run in the bottom of the fifth inning of Game 5 turned events in favor of the Empire Bay team. Victory was canceled out by the Lancers in Game 6, and we now have a powder keg finale that is sure to have everyone glued to their radios. Can Bunny Smith bring it home for Lost Heaven, or will the Cannons' towering redhead have the final say? WLH 570 Lost Heaven Radio will carry live coverage of the final game of the Gold Series, and we hope you'll join us in wishing our boys well. And now, back to some of the latest musical numbers.
This is WBDS, broadcasting live from Behringer's.
Now, a news report on the rising crime figures and the reaction from the governor's mansion. The numbers state in black and white that crime is on the rise all over the state. Many commentators are blaming the rise in criminality, thievery, racketeering, and other gangsterism on the economic downturn and resulting social deprivation. In the greater Lost Heaven area last year, there was a sharp increase in the number of gang-related incidents, and the chief of police was moved to create a gang task force, known informally as the Rat Catchers. But Governor Wells, who has suffered criticism for his handling of the increase in violent crime, thinks otherwise. He said, "There can be no dispute that times are hard for many. Jobs are fewer and farther between. But that simply is no reason to bite one's thumb at the rule of law. In fact, I feel that adversity has the potential of forging a hardier individual and a more harmonious family unit." Governor Wells came in for some criticism from certain sections, while others were quick to praise him for his commitment to straight talking. How either interpretation plays with the electorate remains to be seen. One thing is certain, however, and that is the current levels of crime are out of control. Join me for another news bulletin later. Now, I believe, we have some more musical numbers.
Big Break Reds deliver flavor and satisfaction like no other, and 9 out of 10 physicians say they're smoother on the throat than any other premium cigarette. I sure know who I'd trust on the matter. Pick up a pack today and find out for yourself. Big Break Reds.
A report now on the latest public health figures released by City Hall. There has been an increase in the use and abuse of marijuana, commonly known as grass or reefer, and heroin, often called dope or junk. Both of these illicit drugs are popular with the jazz crowd, but are illegal to consume, buy, and sell. A spokesperson for the mayor's office says that the use of dope, heroin, and marijuana can lead to insanity, violence, and moral degeneracy. So what are the city and the police doing about this new menace that's appeared in our city? The chief of police stated earlier today that he had alerted all city precincts about the dangers of these substances and given guidance on how to spot a dope fiend. If we want to ensure that social cohesion is maintained, it's up to all of us to be vigilant. If you suspect someone of using drugs, it's your duty to alert the police. Thank you for listening.
And we return now to coverage what could be the final play of this game and the series between the Lost Heaven Lancers and the Empire Bay Cannons. A quick reminder that this final inning is being brought to you by Swift Cola. When you need a lift, reach for a Swift. It's not only a taste sensation, it's guaranteed to increase focus, drive, and mental clarity. Pick up a bottle of Swift Cola today. And as we are coming to a close, let me thank today's other sponsors, Big Break Cigarettes and Lost Heaven Courier. Both of these teams could be said to be entering golden eras. Each team has a star player at the core with promising youngsters set around them. I refer, of course, to Smith and Seidel. The Cannons have had several such golden periods. The Lancers, it's fair to say, have not. I can see Lancers manager Frankie Hodge prowling in front of the dugout, gesticulating. He seems animated, to say the least. Looks like he's putting one of the officials in his place or something or other. With the noise of the crowd, it is quite hard to say for sure. Whatever's going on down there, you can feel the sense of occasion, and you just know that whatever happens, the crowd will be the first to tell you what has happened. The Lancers are now within minutes of snatching the Gold Series, which at one stage had appeared doomed, but they equally teeter on the edge of defeat. It all comes down to the final play. Nobody is warming up in the bullpen. Nobody down there is considering the possibility of extra innings. Bunny Smith then, standing on the mound, a look of steely determination on his face. He's betraying no emotion, doesn't look nervous or tired after his exertions this series, nor does he appear to be carrying the weight of expectation. He's having a word with the umpire about something or other. What a strapping fellow, 6'2", 195 pounds. If the Lancers are to win here today, he's going to write himself into the record books. And boy, oh boy, what that would mean to the people of Lost Heaven after such a long time without glory on the diamond. All right, they've sorted out whatever was going on. Here we go then. In for the Cannons, it's Paddy Doherty. Smith is pitching the game of his life, but Doherty's a big man. If he can catch one, it could run, and with bases loaded, the Cannons would have it. Here we go. Doherty facing down Smith. Fastball and strike. The big man thought he had it. Some speed on that ball, my goodness. It's fair to say Doherty looks a little spooked. He was convinced he had it. His body language tells the tale. Smith remains cool under pressure, not a flicker of emotion on his face. He winds up, and that's two. There was zip on that one. Good Lord. Seidel is barking something at Doherty, but we have no chance of hearing it as the noise of the crowd reaches fever pitch. Doherty's gesturing, and that's only making Seidel more irate. This is it, folks. Another strike, and the Lancers win. If Doherty can get behind it, surely the Cannons will get all their men home and snatch victory. A swing and a miss, and that's the winners! Lancers win! Lancers win! And Smith finally cracks an elated smile. He's thrown his cap in the air, as have his teammates. Lancers win the 1933 Gold Series!
A brief report now on the latest political developments in Europe. With the annexation of Austria, and with many predicting that Czechoslovakia's Sudetenland will be next, Adolf Hitler has shown Europe that he is now calling the shots. Despite the restrictions placed on Germany by the Treaty of Versailles, neither France nor Great Britain have done much to stand in Hitler's way up to this point. It had been hoped that the policy of appeasement toward his territorial ambitions would create a more prolonged peace in Europe, but it seems increasingly likely that this course of action will result in new conflict. Should Europe once again descend into the chaos of war, what stance should the United States take? Many would still say European problems are European problems, but the deteriorating situation and the worrying possible outcomes for the world now seem difficult for us to ignore. Isolation versus intervention. That is the choice facing America. Which we will decide will be known in time. Thank you for listening. And now back to my colleagues who, no doubt, have some music on the cards.
Trago fuel, oil, and lubricants will keep your engine purring for longer than anything else on the market. To reduce engine complaints and to cut down on expenses, there can be no substitutes. Trago, the choice of champions. Broadcasting live from Behringer's department store, this is WBDS. Stay with us for more music.
Lost Heaven Radio is with you from when you rise to when you lay your head down at night. We're your public service broadcaster, and we thank you for listening.
You're listening to WBDS. Come by and pay a visit to our famous Market Square, where you'll find almost anything your palate may desire. Behringer's, the name you can trust.
A job well done depends on tools and materials that aren't going to let you down. At Edmunds, all items are guaranteed to be of the highest quality and best priced locally. For fixtures, paints, lumber, and more, visit Edmunds Tools, home of the Edmunds Price Guarantee.
Now, we shall take a special look at the only thing anyone seems to be talking about at the moment. That's right, folks. Tomorrow is the big one, the highlight of the racing calendar, the Lost Heaven Grand Prix. Can you believe it? I dare say you can feel the excitement in the air. Certainly, here at Behringer's, I sensed a certain electricity among those shopping today. Tomorrow, the Autodrome will play host to the very best drivers World Motorsport has to offer, including defending champion, the Baron of Speed himself, Martin Lichtenberg. The German wunderkind will be competing in his gleaming Carazella, in which he's won 3 of his last 4 races. Hoping to seize victory from the clutches of the heavy favorite are Pasquale the Italian and Raymond Hemmings of Australia. I would have to say that, as accomplished drivers as they are, the smart money would have to be on Lichtenberg scoring another victory tomorrow in Lost Heaven. His imperious driving style, aggression, and bravery will almost certainly prove too much for the chasing pack. But by God, what a spectacle the chase will prove to be. The Grand Prix is sponsored by Big Break Cigarettes and Trago Motor Oil, both of which can be found here at Behringer's Department Store. Stay with us on WBDS for news on the race as we continue the build-up to what is surely shaping up to be a classic. We return now to a little music, and Finn Harrington will be along a little later with a news bulletin.
WLH 570 Lost Heaven Radio brings you modern music and news bulletins throughout the day. Thank you for listening.
From the news desk of WLH 570, a special report on crime in our city. It had been hoped by lawmakers and the general public alike that the end of Prohibition would cut off the mob's air supply. But 2 years since the repeal of the 18th Amendment, it seems to have merely added fuel to the conflagration of crime that engulfs the country. It would appear that removing the conditions that created a new type of virulent gangsterism is not going to remove the problem. The criminal empires that amassed such wealth and power in the last decade and a half are simply too powerful, too deep-rooted to simply be swept away. The more established of these organizations are consolidating their power. The competition between them continues to bring violence and bloodshed into the public square. We saw this in Empire Bay with the Vinci Moretti War that ended in the car bomb killing of mob boss Tommaso Moretti. Gangs such as the Vinci family are now, in many cases, highly sophisticated, well-organized international operations. They owe their success to their brutality and to the many lawmen and legislators in their pockets. Yes, don't allow yourself to be mistaken. The mob may be the instigator, the driving partner, but the corrupt politician or the dirty cop is the facilitator, and both roles must be played for organized crime to flourish. I've heard it mentioned in certain newspapers that the upward trajectory of the economy would quell the mob's opportunities to exploit police and lawmakers. That, sadly, doesn't appear to be the case. Those engaged in corruption are not doing so to put food on the table. City officials and public servants earn more than most, and did so even at the height of the Depression, so that, frankly, does not wash. Plenty of people far worse off live without sin. As we have seen in Lost Heaven, standing up to the mob can be a dangerous game. Suspected mob hits carried out against officials in a number of American cities attest to that. What are our state and federal governments doing to ease public concerns? What can we expect from J. Edgar Hoover and his BOI, now renamed the Federal Bureau of Investigations? Are we truly powerless in the face of such callous disregard for human life? We shall let you know if we ever receive answers to these questions. This concludes our special report. Now we have for you a brief report on conditions in what is becoming known as the Dust Bowl, the states most seriously affected by the ongoing drought and those most beset by rolling dust storms. I speak namely of Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, Colorado, and New Mexico. Of course, other states are being affected, both directly and indirectly, but it is these states that are bearing the brunt of things. You surely recall the terrifying newspaper images of the Black Sunday storm, that enormous black blizzard of dust that caused utter devastation across the prairies earlier this year. Well, spare a thought for the farming families of the aforementioned states, as they've been dealing with such storms for nigh on 5 years. Tens of thousands have had to migrate in order to survive. The causes of such an unprecedented disaster are, according to experts, the use of intensive farming without proper soil conservation, coupled with extended droughts of biblical proportions. The situation is now so dire that the federal government has become deeply involved, with FDR's New Deal attacking on multiple fronts. Perhaps the most remarkable initiative undertaken so far is the Great Plains Shelter Belt Project, started last year, that aims to plant 200 million trees to act as a windbreaker running from Texas to North Dakota. The success of this and similar endeavors cannot yet be determined, but I must say I welcome the President's intervention. Let us pray for all our sakes that these programs have the desired effect on the fortunes of the American farmer. And now, back to our scheduled programming.
This is the Behringer's Music Hour on WBDS.
The mission of Lost Heaven Radio, our city's public service broadcaster, is to serve you. Start your day with WLH 570.
You're listening to WBDS, playing some of today's favorite music and casting a spotlight on a few of the new items available down here at Behringer's Department Store. Good evening, folks. This is WBDS. It's been quite the day down here at Behringer's. The store has been jam-packed all day with people securing the best deals in the city. There's no reason to feel left out, though, as we have the best deals each and every day. Come see us tomorrow and make sure you don't miss out.
A public service radio station for the people of Lost Heaven. This is WLH 570. For up-to-the-minute news and a wide range of modern music, please stay with us on Lost Heaven Radio. Call sign WLH. It's just about that time, ain't it, folks? Time to light up a Big Break Red and let the troubles of the day go up in smoke. Big Break and Lost Heaven Radio help you take a break from it all, accompanying you as you close out the day and get ready to turn in. More music is on the way as we head into the small hours of the morning.
Coming to you now, a special news report on today's events from our nation's capital. Dramatic scenes unfolded earlier today as the U.S. Army executed orders to remove the tens of thousands of veterans and their family members that make up the bonus army from government property. This follows the shooting dead of 2 demonstrators by District of Columbia Police in what they have described as a serious riot. This follows the shooting dead of 2 demonstrators by District of Columbia Police in what they have described as a serious riot. The demonstrators who've been demanding the early cash redemption of Army service certificates are mostly veterans who've been affected by the Depression. Their grievance is that they're unable to access the bonuses they earned through service anytime soon. While a bill was passed that would move forward the date of some of their bonus payments, this bill was defeated 62 to 18 in the Senate. Since then, the bonus army has been occupying Washington, but no more. The demonstrators were today driven from Washington by infantry, cavalry, and even tanks after it was determined that the local police were no longer in control of the situation. Infantry troops then entered several of the demonstrators' encampments, firing tear gas and burning shelters. The operation, led by General MacArthur, has been condemned from some quarters as heavy-handed. Others have pointed to radical elements within the bonus army as the reason for which they were dealt with swiftly and decisively. There has, of yet, been no comment from the White House or the Army. Here concludes our special report.
In need of refreshment, a boost, or a pick-me-up? Then there should be only one name on your lips. Swift Cola, the energy kick that's a taste sensation. When you're in need of a lift, choose Swift. Gorska-Delina vodka has been produced in Krakow for more than 250 years. In that time, very little has changed in the production process. It's still triple distilled and filtered 10 times. Well, what is it they say? If it ain't broke, Gorska-Delina Premium Vodka.
Hats, belts, and other accessories are the icing on the cake when it comes to fashion. Behringer's Menswear has just the thing to accent your style. Freshen things up with a visit next time you're downtown. Behringer's Menswear. I know it's good to relax with WBDS in the evening, but what about tomorrow? The modern man, or woman, needs activity, and there's no better place to get outfitted for recreation than Behringer's. Our sporting goods take up an entire floor in our flagship store. Get yourself moving with Behringer's.
Now, for a news report, and the biggest story of the day is that the chief of police admits his men have yet to apprehend any suspects in the brazen public assassination of City Councilor Roberto Gilotti. Gilotti was gunned down while giving a speech at his own birthday party aboard the paddle steamer Lost Heaven Queen. According to eyewitness reports, the assassin made a daring escape by motorboat, aided by a number of associates, all under the cover of a lavish fireworks display. The public nature of the slaying, as well as the degree of professionalism with which it was carried out, have led some to speculate that Gilotti was the latest public servant to become a victim of the epidemic of mob violence currently assailing the city. The killing marks another chapter in the tragic story of the Gilotti family. Only 3 years ago, the councilor's son, Billy, was murdered in an act of senseless, unprovoked violence. His killers were never brought to justice. The chief of police insists that several avenues of investigation are still being explored to ensure justice does not escape the family once again. But without results, this journalist simply has to wonder, what exactly can stem the tide of violence that has been unleashed on Lost Heaven? We'll bring you more on the story as we get it. Thank you for listening. Now, an excerpt from a presidential address delivered earlier this year. This is part of our series looking back over the president's plans and results since his inauguration.
Our responsibility is to all of the people in this country. This is a great national crusade, a crusade to destroy enforced idleness, which is an enemy of the human spirit generated by this depression. Our attack upon these enemies must be without stint and without discrimination. No sectional, no political distinctions can be permitted. It must, however, be recognized, and I know you will recognize it, that when an enterprise of this character is extended over more than 3,100 counties throughout the nation, there may be occasional instances of inefficiency, bad management, or misuse of funds. When cases of that kind occur, there will be those, of course, who will try to tell you that the exceptional failure is characteristic of the entire endeavor. It should be remembered that in every big job there are some imperfections. There are chiselers in every walk of life. There are those in every industry who are guilty of unfair practices. Every profession has its black sheep, but long experience in government has taught me that the exceptional instances of wrongdoing in government are probably less numerous than in almost every other line of endeavor. My friends, the most efficient means of preventing such evils in this work relief program will be the eternal vigilance of the American people themselves. I call upon my fellow citizens everywhere to cooperate with me in making this the most efficient and the cleanest example of public enterprise the world has ever seen. It is time to provide a smashing answer to those cynical men who say that a democracy cannot be honest, cannot be efficient. If you will help, this can be done. I therefore hope that you will watch the work in every corner of this nation. Feel free to criticize. Tell me of instances where work can be done better, or where improper practices prevail. Neither you nor I want criticism, conceived in a purely fault-finding or partisan spirit, but I am jealous of the right of every citizen to call to the attention of his or her government examples of how the public money can be more effectively spent for the benefit of the American people.
Wise words from the president there. Now we return to some music.
Behringer's 7 Floors of Luxury and Value brings you an afternoon program of music via WBDS. Pay a visit to Behringer's and see what's new next time you're downtown. You've made the right choice. This is Behringer's Radio. Stay with us for more music.
Thank you for joining us on 570 AM. This is Lost Heaven Radio. We're proud to be our city's public broadcaster.
Lace, park, scene dark, silvery moon is shining through the trees. Cast to me you, sound of kisses floating on the breeze. Act 1, be